If you ever wanted to light $140 million on fire and call it a lifestyle brand, Gwyneth Paltrow's got the masterclass for you. And from the looks of it, Meghan Markle's been taking notes. Gwyneth Paltrow's Goop has yet to make a profit even after being in business for almost 20 years and raising $140 million in capital. And Netflix stepped away from Meghan Markle's As Ever after less than a year, where insiders said that they also never saw a return on investment. Both women also ended up with critically panned Netflix shows. Different branding, same pattern. Big launch, lots of prestige, lots of attention, but not much evidence of a durable business underneath. So how does that happen? How do two women with fame, money, backing, and a global platform still end up with brands that feel more like vanity projects rather than businesses? I think both brands are making the exact same mistake. And once you see it, I don't think you'll be able to unsee it. Hi, my name is Rachel, and I'm an airline pilot by day, but when I'm on the ground, I like to study business. And I also run a cheeky satirical lifestyle business called Montecito Minimalist. Today, we're comparing two famous, or should I say infamous, lifestyle brands in recent memory, Gwyneth Paltrow's Goop and Meghan Markle's As Ever. First, a little background on both companies. As Ever was launched just under a year ago by cable TV actress and Prince Harry's wife, Meghan Markle. The lifestyle brand was launched alongside Meghan's TV show With Love Meghan on Netflix. And Netflix's own To-Dumb coverage presented the show and the products as the same universe. The world was there, the aesthetic was there, but the products themselves never really felt cohesive within the With Love Meghan sphere. Actually, they weren't even featured on the show. Earlier this year, Netflix stepped back from the As Ever partnership and announced they were also not renewing With Love Meghan for a third season. Gwyneth Paltrow's Goop started in 2008 as a wellness newsletter. Over time, it expanded into a full lifestyle company: editorial, beauty, wellness, fashion, events, retail, podcasts, Netflix, all of it. Its first round of outside funding came in around 2015, and by last year it was announced that the company had reportedly raised more than $140 million in funding. And Gwyneth Paltrow herself said Goop was still seeking profitability. Now, these two are not building from obscurity. They're both entering their markets with enormous advantage. So before we get to trust, authority, or demand, it helps to say the quiet part out loud. Neither of these brands are just selling products. Now, this comparison isn't random. After what was known as Megxit, or when Harry and Meghan left the royal family, there was a couple articles floating out there that Meghan wanted to start the next Goop. My question is, why would anyone want to start an unprofitable brand? But then I think I kind of figured it out. As Ever is not selling just pantry goods and spread. It's selling proximity to Meghan and her taste. It's the same thing with Goop. They're not just selling vitamins and questionable things you put in your orifices. You gotta keep that. Goop is not just selling beauty supplements or questionable items. They're also selling Gwyneth's routines, Gwyneth's taste, proximity to Gwyneth. So they're not product-first brands, they're founder-first brands. And once the founder becomes the product itself, the business starts living and dying by a very different question, which is, why should I trust you here? With Meghan, I think the question is rather straightforward. With her show With Love Meghan, she's asking the audience to see her as a domestic authority, a hostess, a curator, someone whose taste in the kitchen is worth paying for. But what is her demonstrated expertise in this space? Her closest previous credential in the space was The Tig, and The Tig was more of a lifestyle blog, which focused more on fashion and travel. There wasn't a long public track record of pantry goods, tea, or preserves, or the kind of deep product obsession that makes people think, yes, of course, I'm going to trust her in this category. Because domestic authority is not just about making things look easy. It's a discipline, just like anything else. Good hosting, good cooking, good homemaking, those are all crafts. And they take repetition, preparation, standards, and enough real experience that the person teaching it no longer seems to be figuring it out on camera. Is this working?
I think it's a slow process.
I've never made this before.
That, to me, is where the confusion sets in. If you are doing things for the first time on camera, while also trying to position yourself as the instructor, the viewer feels that tension immediately. You can't really be the student and the instructor at the same time. Martha Stewart made this category effortless, but that effortlessness came after years of hard work. That's why the authority held. It was established before Martha Stewart became Martha Stewart, the brand. With Goop, the issue is a little different because wellness is not a casual category. It's personal, it's expensive, it's intimate, and often medical adjacent. You're not just buying jam, you're buying into claims about your own body. And that's why trust matters so much more in a wellness space. Goop began as a newsletter in 2008, but its first major outside funding came in 2015. And it's hard not to notice that the years that Goop was seeking big amounts of outside funding was also the time that Goop was known as tabloid fodder. In 2015, the first year they sought that outside funding, vaginal steaming was all the rage. And then a couple years later, when they were in between two Series B and C rounds, the jade egg story was super prevalent. Now, I'm not saying that they used controversy for funding or to get more publicity in the media to get more funding, but I find the overlap interesting. And while all of that may have kept the brand visible, I think it also hurt Goop in the long run, because wellness is too personal of a category to turn into a punchline. Once people start seeing your brand that way, it becomes very difficult to turn around and then ask us to trust you. And if you're building a wellness company, trust is not some side benefit. Trust is the core of the brand. So once you strip away the fame, the press, and the aesthetics, I think both brands run into the same problem. What have these women actually done to earn authority in these spaces? What has Gwyneth done to become a wellness expert? What has Meghan done to become a great host? Because fame can get you the meeting, the articles, the investors, the Netflix tie-in, but fame is not the same thing as earned authority. Netflix should have solved this, but it didn't. A founder-led lifestyle show should deepen the logic of the brand. It should make the audience, of course this person sells this, of course this is their lane, of course these products belong here. Both women had shows on Netflix, and both shows were critically panned. And that's why Netflix is such an interesting test with both of these cases. If a global platform, prestige production, and hours of screen time can't make the authority feel natural, then the problem isn't visibility. The problem is believability. With Goop, even The Hollywood Reporter ended up asking the more uncomfortable question: why would Netflix provide a global platform for this at all? Now, the critique was aimed at Goop's anti-scientific wellness posture, but the larger point still matters here. A huge platform doesn't fix the credibility problem, it just shines a brighter light on it. And I think a similar question hangs over Meghan's show too. Not because the issue is pseudoscience, but because the authority gap is different. If the series is asking us to see her as a domestic guide, a host, a curator of home life, why doesn't the show make that authority feel inevitable? Critics didn't just find it glossy or distant. The Hollywood Reporter called it an unrelatable, lavish lifestyle series, and other reviews kept circling the same issue. The show reached for lifestyle authority without fully establishing the expertise that would make it compelling. With Goop, Netflix came much later, after years of controversy and expansion. And by then, the brand already had a trust problem with wellness that a glossy series was never going to solve. Hollywood can amplify, it can stylize, it can make something look expensive, but the only thing Hollywood can't fake is earned authority. Celebrity gives you curiosity for free. It doesn't give you demand, and it doesn't give you trust, and it certainly doesn't give you repeat customers just because someone recognizes your face. And to me, that raises a much more interesting question. If fame's not doing the selling, then what is? So instead of talking about it, I ended up testing that question myself. If you've ever watched the TV show Curb Your Enthusiasm, the last few episodes of season 10 has a very funny storyline. Larry David is sick and tired of his usual coffee shop Mocha Joe's. Everything is subpar. The furniture's subpar, the coffee's subpar, the pastries are subpar. And he thinks he can do it better. So he opens a store called Latte Larry's out of spite right next to Mocha Joe's.
Hi, I'm Larry David. I want to tell you about a new store I'm opening called Latte Larry's. Why am I getting into the coffee game? Because I went to this coffee shop next door and the guy was such a jerk that I felt like I had to do something. And now, you know what? I got me a little spite store. Tremendous things in there, by the way. You're gonna love it. So come on down to Latte Larry's and have a hot cup of spite with me. You're not gonna believe what's going on in here. You'll be very impressed. Come on.
It's a very funny series of episodes, but that's more or less of what I did. I basically opened a spite lifestyle store. I wanted to test out the theory, is it hard to sell things to people? Point blank, that's really all it was. And I kind of found out, not really. You need a clear point of view, you need products that people understand, and you need reasonable prices. And you need the discipline to keep showing up after the launch, after the novelty, after the first round of attention has passed. That's the part people skip. That's also the part that makes the business real. Maybe part of the reason why I look at brands this way is because I come from a profession where you can't schmooze your way into competence. To get to the airlines takes thousands of hours, countless exams, check rides, evaluations, and then once you're at the airlines, you have to do continuing requalification every year. And if you don't meet the standards, you're out. The airline doesn't care who you are. So I'm very used to fields where the standards matter more than the image. And business at its core is not actually mysterious. You have to sell something people want, charge enough to cover the cost, and leave a little bit more for margin for the business to be able to stand on its own. Now, I'm not pretending that Montecito Minimalist is in the same sphere as Goop. It's not. But my point is a little simpler than that. I'm not a celebrity. I'm just an airline pilot. I don't have PR, I don't have Netflix behind me, I don't have venture capital, I'm not married to someone famous. But yet, I've been profitable pretty much since my first sale. And I've sold to every single continent in the world except for Antarctica. So that's what it bothers me so much when I see these companies with Netflix backing and huge venture capital funds, and they're made by someone who's famous, who has so many more connections, and 18 years later, they're still looking for profitability. It just makes you scratch your head and you just go, why? I think I figured it out. Both brands are selling down to us. Even when these brands are beautifully shot and expensively packaged, there's something slightly off in the way that they present themselves to the customer. The posture is not quite, let me help you build something of your own. It's closer to,
Hey everyone! Come and see how good I look!
the best lifestyle brands don't ask the customer to feel like you're beneath them. They make people feel more capable, more included, more at ease in their own lives. Sometimes they teach, sometimes they delight. Sometimes they simply make the day feel just a little bit brighter. The customer feels invited in. They don't feel asked to look up. That's what Martha Stewart understood. She did not need you to envy her in order for her to teach you something. Joanna Gaines didn't need to hover over you in order for her to sell a vision of a home. But with Gwyneth and Meghan, the aspiration can start to feel less generous and more status-driven. And I think people feel that, even if they can't quite phrase it in that way. In the end, you can have fame, money, access, a glossy product launch, and all the attention in the world. And yes, those things can open doors, they can speed up introductions, they can create curiosity before a single product has ever been made. But they still can't do the quiet part. They can't make something worthy of trust. Because in the end, that's what people are deciding. Not simply whether something is attractive, expensive, or well photographed, but whether there's something solid underneath it. Is there enough care and enough substance for the product to matter once the lights have all moved on? Most of the time, that kind of trust is earned slowly through patience, standards, repetition, and the unremarkable discipline of doing the work well long after the novelty has worn off. People know the difference between something carefully staged and something carefully made. And perhaps that matters even more when the founders come from an industry whose genius lies in making the temporary feel real. But outside of fame, respect is built differently. It comes from competence and perseverance and staying with something long enough that the work begins to speak for itself. There has never been a substitute for hard work. No amount of money or fame could ever fake that. And I think it's a hard lesson for Gwyneth and Meghan to learn. And until they learn that, I think they'll just keep pivoting until someone pulls the plug, either themselves or investors that have had enough. Thank you very much for joining me on my little corner of the internet today. If you like the video, share your thoughts and comments below, and please don't forget to subscribe. I publish video essays like this every week. Until next time, I'm Rachel. It's having your own network. That's what it is. Yeah. Just what do you want on the Rachel network? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All Rachel all the time. So good.
Okay.
It's a retired yacht girl.
Retired yacht girl, allegedly. No. Her previous credential, I have to pause, potato. Not simply whether something is attractive, expensive, or wealth. It's weird. Of the founder, or oh, this candle, which may or may not have a wick, smells like our founder's birthday. And at the end of the day, who cares? And shameless plug here, but if you're interested in the sweater, it's available at montecito minimalist.com. Have a good one.